Hey guys, Waterfowler41 here, and today I am back with a quick little video on a little helper kit here. So basically what we're looking at here is Supreme Suspension's differential drop kit. And they say this works for 2007 all the way up to 2018 GM 1500 trucks, so the Silverado and Sierra. And what this does is basically the heart of the kit is right here, these little spacers. And what this does is it lowers your front differential to correct for any angle changes that you made when you lifted your truck. So if you look at my other videos, I have my truck currently lifted up 2.5 inches in the front. And what I'm experiencing is at really low speeds and when I'm turning really sharp, I feel a slight vibration, and been looking around, and I'm starting to think that it's actually the CV joints that are making it, and it's just basically because they're at such a severe angle and they're a little angry. So what this does is it'll lower the differential, which will lower the highest point of the CV, and then it'll basically correct the angle into the wheel itself. So hopefully that helps with my issue here. I tried looking at alignment, my alignment wasn't off. I tried having the wheels balanced. This is a quick little $30 kit that could potentially resolve my issue, and all the internet research I did, people always said that this is kind of the next best step, especially when you had a 204-inch drop. This is a good differential drop kit. So anyway, like I said, this is 30 bucks, bought it on Amazon. Wasn't a Prime eligible product, but it shipped in 3 days. So I bought it on, let's see, I bought it Friday last week and it showed up today. So about a week later I'm installing it. So what comes in the kit? 4 steel bolts and then 2 nylon lock washers. Now if you do a little bit of reviewing on this kit or looking around at some of the people's reviews, a lot of people say that these bolts are too small, and it really varies on your application. So what I went ahead and did preemptively is I bought the next size larger and then the next 2 sizes larger bolt. So I bought a 70mm bolt as well as a 75mm. So the 70mm is roughly 5mm larger than the bolt that comes in the kit. So these are, my guess is 65mm. Then I also bought the 75mm. So these are 12mm by 75mm metric hex cap bolts. Unfortunately, I couldn't get them in grade 8 at Menards, so I had to buy them in black steel again. Anyway, so the other thing that the kit does not have are these washers. I don't know if I'll need them, but I went ahead and bought them anyway. I could return them. I just feel like putting bolts like this and replacing any new bolts, if they don't already have washers, it's probably a good idea to put the washers on there, which might lead me into going into the next bolt. So anyway, you also get stickers, you get the instructions. The instructions are pretty general, which is why I'm filming this video. I didn't see any sort of diff drop videos on this kit itself. I've seen on the bigger lift kits, so the 4, 5, 6-inch lift kits. Nothing on our little minor lift kits, so this is for you all that are looking for it. Obviously you get stickers. This is the first time I've ever gotten an air freshener. I believe that's an air freshener in there with the kit. Bottle opener and a couple more stickers. 30 bucks. Really all you need is these pucks. You can go out and get the screws yourself. But just some information on those pucks. So if you have the ability to machine things, this is just a little aluminum spacer. It is 1.5 inches from top to bottom, so the diameter is 1.5 inches. The inside hole is a 1/2 inch, and then the height is a 1/2 inch. So if you can machine that, then you're good to go. You could just get the bolts at a hardware store. So we're gonna go ahead and get the truck lifted, get the wheels off, and get the skid plate off so we can get to the differential, and then we're gonna start rocking and rolling on the install. All right, we are underneath the truck, and this is the passenger side rear differential mount. So basically what we did is I threw a fixed ratchet or fixed wrench up there, up on top. It's a 15mm bolt head on top, and it's 18mm on the bottom. So then I went ahead and just loosened up. I put the top bolt on there, or top ratchet, let that basically hold up against the catalytic converter there, and then I unscrewed this. I had to use a breaker bar just to get it free, but that one is done. That's probably the easiest to get to one. So we also have, this is the rear driver side bolt. This one looks like a little bit of a pain in the butt, but with this little, here, I'll show you what tool I'm using. This is what I'm using. So it's not ratcheting, but it does pivot a little bit, so it gives me some play, but it is also rigid once I get it in spot. So this is the rear driver side diff mount, and then the front is right there. Front looks pretty easy to get to. Looks like I can get to it from the top and then just drop the bolt down. Rear looks a little bit more of a pain in the butt. The one I'm concerned about most is that one. This is the front passenger side one. I really don't know if there's an easy way to get to it. I might be going through the top of the truck, and it's just me by myself doing this, so it might take more than a couple hours to get that one loose. But I got all day, so let's go ahead and finish up with the passenger side. So everything I've read online, when people have talked about doing this, they did it one side at a time. So I'm going to do the passenger side first. That way I get the easiest bolt and the hardest bolt out of the way, and then I'll go over to the other side and do the medium bolts. So basically I'm going to undo these bolts, slip out the stock bolts, put the new ones in there with the spacers in between the chassis mount and the top of the diff mount, and that should lower the diff down about a ½ inch and correct my angles here. So there's my eye box there, and just to give you an idea of the angles, that's what we're dealing with right now. It's just a little bit more severe than my tie rod ends, so with the diff drop it should correct that just a smidgen and maybe put it in line with my tie rods, which is alright. It'll be an improvement. So let's go ahead and knock out the rest of these here. Alright, so I got one of the factory bolts out, and I wanted to show you something I figured out, which is going to result in a hardware store run here. So when I read the reviews, I heard that these bolts are too small, so I went and bought the size bigger plus the next size bigger than that. Now I have the factory bolt out, and the factory bolt is about, looks like 3 3/4 length. So these are the bolts that come in the kit. They are supposed to replace these bolts, but even without a spacer, the bolts on the truck are about 1.5 inches longer than what comes in the kit, which is kind of crappy. So now I need to go to the store and get a bolt that is 1 inch bigger than the factory bolt so I can fit my spacer on there. Unfortunately, with these bolts, the spacer doesn't fit on there. I need about a ½ inch more thread. So I'll just go ahead and err on the side a little too much and get the 1 inch larger bolts, and then we'll go ahead and throw those in there. But that's going to affect every corner, so you're going to need 4 new bolts that are going to be 1 inch longer than factory. And like I said, the factory is about 4 3/4. Now the other thing I don't understand is why the kit only comes with 2 lock nuts. I assume it's because this is such a wide range of trucks that it covers, that on some of the trucks you may need this. But I'm going to go ahead and get new bolts and probably new crown nuts too. That way everything cinches down nice and cleanly and I don't have anything to worry about. But the spacer itself does fit on here nicely, so it fits nice and flush. We just need to get longer bolts. That sucks. For 30 bucks you would think they could at least package the right hardware in here, but again, I assume it's because this covers such a wide range of trucks that maybe this was sufficient on the older trucks, but on these newer 2014 2018 you definitely need at least 4 2/4 or 4.5 inch long bolts. So I'm off to the hardware store, probably gonna Uber or have my in-laws drive me because my truck is up on stilts, no wheels, and the differential is loose on one side. Going to get longer bolts. Alright, so I got the passenger side done and I'm working on the driver's side, so I just wanted to show you a quick trick on how I'm doing this. And I'm winging it one man, so I have a ton of 3/8 inch ratchet extensions going all the way down to that front driver's side bolt. So I'm loosening it from the top. Underneath, I took a wrench and I zip tied it to my strut, and it's enough to hold onto the bottom of the nut while I'm twisting from the top. So I did this on the other side too to get the front differential mount bolt off. It doesn't take much, just zip tie it right to the bottom of your strut. It'll hold that wrench in place while you twist from the top. It's not on too much torque. I think it's 95 foot-pounds from the factory. So once it lets go, it's pretty easy, but just kind of a quick trick there. Okay, so I got the kit installed on my truck. It took me about 2.5 hours, and that includes a hardware store trip. But I just wanted to give my personal opinion on the kit. Overall, on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being great, 1 being absolutely wouldn't recommend it, I'd say the kit's about a 2. And the reason I say it is the pucks that you get, the spacers, they're fine. They're aluminum, they're machined, they fit good. They were easy to slip up into place. Whether they were enough spacer that I needed or enough drop on my differential, I don't know yet. I haven't driven. Wheels are still off, but I just finished everything. But the hardware stuff really pisses me off. So here are the stock bolts. So this is what goes through the top of the chassis, drops down to the differential isolators, and then you bolt it up to the bottom with these crown nuts. Now these bolts are about, let's see, they're about 3 3/4 in length. In the kit, they give you these. And when they come with the kit, these should fit in the OEM position, so they should drop down through the hole, through the spacer that comes in the kit, through the chassis, and then you should be able to bolt them up with nuts on the bottom of the truck. Now these are about 2.5 inches long. So they're not even the same length. They're too short to even match the OEM specs, let alone fit a spacer in there. So that sucks, and that kind of pisses me off. So you pay 30 bucks, and what do you get? You get these 4 aluminum pucks. Are the pucks worth 30 bucks? I don't think so. I think they try to charge you on the hardware. Now, one of the things I was thinking is maybe because this kit is sized to fit 2007 and up, GMCs and Chevys, maybe these bolts used to fit in the past, but they're basically garbage with the kit on anything later than 2014. So ultimately what I ended up having to do is take this bolt to the store and match it in length, which ended up being a 120 millimeter bolt. Since it's metric, it had to fit in the hole. I brought the spacers with me to make sure that the diameter of the new bolts fit through the spacer, and I also needed to buy 2 additional nylock nuts, because in the kit it comes with only 2 instead of 4. So my suggestion to Supreme Suspensions is don't waste time on all the stickers, keychain, air freshener, and everything. Let's focus on the hardware and make sure the kit works before we start looking at the soft benefits of the kit. But other than the hardware, the spacers themselves went in fine. I mean, that's obviously all you gotta do is unbolt everything. So just a quick rundown of what I did is I did it one side at a time. And we'll hop underneath the truck here. These are the new bolts and the nuts in there. This one's a little short. They ran out of the 120, so it's 100 millimeter. Probably gonna go ahead and find 120 millimeter that I could drop back down in here. This makes me nervous not having that much thread, but I'll keep an eye on it. But anyway, so you work on the passenger side first, you loosen everything, leave at least 1 bolt on there at a time. So I backed off the original bolts here enough to give me room to slip in the spacer on the front. And then once the front was done, I came to the back, pulled off the nut and the bolt, and then put the spacer in and dropped the new nut and bolt in place. So the spacer itself is way up here, if you can see it, about a 1/2 inch in width. So it dropped my differential a 1/2 inch. Right now, I don't believe I have any clearance issues. So usually right here is an issue, but it looks like it's pretty tight, but not hitting. There's the rear right there, that bolt. Those are the 120 millimeters, so you get plenty of thread hanging out of those bad boys. There's the front there. I don't believe that thread hanging out is going to be an issue. If it is, I'll cut it. But again, the kit itself, the pucks, they go into place, easy peasy, but the hardware is questionable. I don't like it. I wish they would have supplied metric sized grade 8 bolts, so I use grade 8 on all suspension stuff, so it lasts. I'm not sure how long this will last. It just kind of sucks that you got to go to the hardware kit after you buy the kit to buy more stuff. So basically that kit ended up being 30 bucks plus the trip to the store plus the hardware, so probably $45 at the end of the day. So you know, save your money. Maybe there's other kits out there. This is just my personal opinion. I'll post a link to it in my description. But other than that, that is the overview of underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the skid plate back on. So the angle is almost matched with my tie rod there. So I think we're pretty good. So I do see a little bit of improvement. I'm going to take it for, I'll take it for a test drive. So there's the passenger side, another zip tie there. That one's about the same as the tie rod as well. So again, I'm going to take it for a test drive. Hopefully this resolved my vibration issues. Quite the pain in the ass to get the kit on because of the hardware not matching up, but after that was resolved, it's pretty simple. The one tool I will say to have handy is this tool. Was extremely helpful, especially if you're doing this by yourself. I was able to pop this onto the top of the nut and then basically zip tie it to something inside so it held it in place, and it would hold the top of the nut while I loosened it from the bottom. Basically acted like a 3/8 inch breaker bar. In the kit you get the 4 bolts that don't fit, the 2 nuts that only do one side of your differential spacers, plus the 4 spacers, tons of stickers, bottle opener. If anyone wants that, let me know. I don't put stickers on my truck. But again, this is part 274 from Supreme Suspension. I'm almost positive this is the right kit for my truck, but hardware just wasn't fitting on it. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and button up everything, take it for a test drive, make sure everything is cinched down, I don't hear any noises, and hopefully this resolved my low speed vibration issues after installing my 2.5-inch Eibach lift. If it didn't, that sucks. On to the next resolution here. Other than that, thank you very much for watching my video. Comment below, let me know your thoughts on this kit if you installed it. If I bought the wrong kit, let me know. But other than that, appreciate you guys watching and look forward to seeing you in the next video.